As usual, we have our Asia Pacific Youth Leaders Dialogue. That's just something that we started a couple years back, right after COVID, because we think that youth deserve to have a space for us to gather annually, at least, to come up with some strategies on dealing with how we want to engage in internet governance space for the future. And now, this year, we have the big theme as co-creating safe digital future through intergenerational actions. As you guys know, artificial intelligence becomes really embedded in our digital life. And in the previous sessions in group number 2, we were just saying that AI is here to stay. Now, what do we, how do we interact with each other, both online and offline, in this backdrop, and how is it going to impact your mental health and other areas too, like online safeties, as well as access to opportunity and civic participations, with the influence of the rapid development of AI. So today's conversation, we aim to build on something we said before in this very dialogue. And I hope that you guys did spend some time to read some reading materials that we sent beforehand. And I know that there's a few other attendees who stay for the sessions after joining Day Zero capacity building. So I would like to ask our YIGF team to help send the link of the 3-year blueprint, as well as our WSIS Plus 20 Youth Statement Live document in the group chat so they can have a quick reference, because those are some of the goals that youth leaders set in previous years of conversation. And then as we discuss how we move forward with this topic, of course, we set up some questions for our discussion today. We want to reference to these framework because we want the innovative solution that we come up in this conversation being channeled into some of these strategic plans, as well as our youth statement, so that future leaders can also carry on the mission and help implement it and make this world a better place. So now, moving on, we will start off a conversation with a 20-minute panel discussion. Today with me, we have Diksha. She is a digital rights lawyer and a tech policy researcher. And just checking very quickly and see if Amisha from Pranava Institute is with us already.
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. And you're audible as well. And after the panel discussion, we'll have a really quick Q&A, just 5 minute, short and sweet, because that Q&A might help us to shape the direction of the conversation. And after that, we will open the floor for everyone's to chime in for the relevant discussion there for 25 minutes, if I haven't mentioned it already. And then after that, we will close it and using 5 minutes as a wrap up. Now, during the open floor, please use your raise hand buttons, and the YGF team will help us keep a queue. Please make sure you have a short intervention as well, and so that we can keep the conversation going. Without further ado, I would like to pass the time to Diksha and Amisha to help us to set a scene for this conversation. Now, for our panel, prior to this meeting, we asked them several questions. So we want them to help share some insights on what some youth lead initiative in APAC have successfully addressed some algorithmic bias, and what lessons we can apply from more widely to other issues. And we hope them to share some examples of collaborations between youth, policymaker, and industry on online safety, mental health, or digital literacy in this region, as they have, of course, relevant background in this. And hopefully they can also share some of the proven methods that exist for including youth, especially those from rural or remote areas, marginalized group, or linguistically diverse community, in AI policy discussion. I know we're attempting to talk a lot of topics, but as we focus on coming up with some strategies on how we enhance youth inclusion, hope these questions will help us set a better scenes as we move on before we move on to open floor later. So if you're ready, Diksha and Amisha, please feel free to chime in already. We'll have 20 minutes for that.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm Amisha and I'm a research analyst at the Pranava Institute. These are some very interesting questions. I will quickly start by talking about what youth led initiatives in the Asia Pacific have successfully addressed algorithmic bias, and in general, what lessons can we apply more widely from them. So, I think initiatives that target algorithmic bias work in two primary ways, one being mitigation and prevention, and one being countermeasure and remedy. Countermeasure and remedy involving creating alternatives when the system fails. I think while a wealth of information exists on the challenges of algorithmic bias in the APAC and the need for youth involvement, specific youth led initiatives with quantifiable results are less commonly planned. However, one very interesting resource, in my opinion, is the Asia Pacific Policy Observatory report by the NetMission itself. Very stellar work. This project is produced by a network of young policy analysts across the region, and the report states that algorithmic bias is a key driver for the AI divide, where AI technologies risk excluding rural youth, linguistic minorities, or say economically disadvantaged communities. The report reveals that this bias stems from the development stage of AI, where models are designed in the global north using Western centric data, values, and harm taxonomies. And as a result, the system fails to take into account critical regional harms that are specific to the Asia Pacific. These may include caste based discrimination in India and Nepal, communal tensions, say, in Indonesia, and things like gender disinformation in the Philippines. And one very big lesson I think that I have personally drawn from this is that to truly address bias, we must look beyond Western centric frameworks. And in order to do that, we need a decolonization and deep cultural contextualization of the worldview within which bias is studied. So the worldview within bias is studied itself is very Western centric in nature. And this should be done ensuring that AI is made from and works for the global south. This involves incorporating local harm taxonomies and values in the design process itself. I was looking at some studies and I found a very interesting one, I would say. This is basically an experimental study on youth AI auditing studies. This was primarily done in the US with a very small sample size of just 17 high school students, but I think something similar to that can be implemented in the Asia Pacific as well. And in the study, the school students demonstrated that youth can effectively detect socio-technical issues if they are properly trained regarding AI bias, be it gender bias or racial bias. However, within this atmosphere itself, we need more contextual studies and experiments that focus specifically on the diverse conditions within the broader APAC region. Another very interesting initiative that I would like to highlight is the Youth for Data Lab Toolkit, which is by DataSphere. It is a youth led global project that empowers young people to co create ethical, inclusive, bias free data and work on AI governance. While this originated in Geneva, it draws on youth led collaborations across regions in the Asia Pacific through partnership directly with the various stakeholders, with youth led organizations or youth leaders themselves. In India itself, we are seeing projects emerging from organizations like Tattle Technologies, which is a community of young technologists and researchers who co-created multilingual data sets and tools that help detect online gender-based abuse. So I think, yeah, those would be my insights on the first question. I think the conversation is slowly changing and we are seeing more involvement. I would also like to share some of my insights on the second question, which is concrete examples of collaboration between youth, policymakers, and industry on online safety, mental health, or digital literacy in the APAC region. I think with time we have been seeing multiple avenues of collaboration between youth and various stakeholders, and across the Asia Pacific region, we are seeing a real shift from the say top-down approach to digital safety programs to co-creation, or at least participation between young people and policymakers and the industry. I would also like to take this opportunity to highlight some work that we at the Pranava Institute are doing at TPI, that the Pranava Institute. I'm working on a project called the Youth Digital Cultures Lab. So this project is guided by three core principles. One being enabling meaningful digital inclusion, second being co-creating non-Western and diverse digital futures, and exploring the digital joys that foster human flourishing. And all of these really have an impact of how we interact with AI as well. We got some interesting insights on digital joys during our previous work with Include Plus Network at the University of Leeds. And what we are trying to do at YDCL is we are training youth fellows in participatory research, technology, policy, and design methods, and equipping them to lead their own projects and conduct their own workshops in the future with their own communities. We have a diverse set of fellows coming from all over India, not just metropolitan cities. And in order to do this, we are in touch with various stakeholders, holding co-creation workshops with youth and these stakeholders, inviting various sectors for workshops and as speakers. And we aim to produce some open source toolkits, speculative design frameworks, resources on best practices, so that these can be helpful for youth leaders themselves, youth organizations, policymakers, and educators, everyone in general, for equitable digital participation by the youth. On that front, we also have another project, which is the Unboxing Tech Toolkit. That is something very dear to me. I recently had a chance to interact with it. And in this, we are empowering young people through interactive workshops and localized toolkits to promote digital literacy. Uh, by engaging with manipulative tech design, engaging educators and policymakers. So I think it all comes down to the intent towards the end. Talking about some other regions, I would like to highlight this very interesting initiative in the Philippines, which is the Digital Thumbprint Program, which is an example of cross-sector collaboration that brings together youth, government, industry to advance online safety and digital literacy. This initiative was launched by Globe Telecom in partnership with the Department of Education, um, and Australia's Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. So the program offers free interactive school modules on cyber safety, responsible digital citizenship, privacy, and online ethics, and how the collaborative aspects of this come into place, that youth here act as co-creators and peer educators. They localize materials and shape them through feedback. The government, which is the Department of Education, institutionalizes this and makes sure that the scalability of the program is in place, so that digital citizenship as a curriculum is embedded in the entire K-12 curriculum. And industry provides funding, training, delivery support, community outreach, and they also conduct surveys to see if the program is actually benefiting. So, as you can see, multi stakeholder effort is the key to ensure participation from all ends. And these are some very interesting initiatives that I wanted to highlight. Moving on to the third question. I think this is a very interesting one. When we talk about proven methods that exist for including youth from rural, marginalized, or in linguistically diverse communities, there are a lot of insights. I think the first and foremost thing is that you can recognize is equipping youth with the appropriate knowledge and skills to lead the conversation. And this is where digital literacy programs focus on AI education that equip not only the youth but the teachers themselves come into play. And quickly adding on to that, I think to create meaningful and ethical community engagement, it is essential to move beyond tokenism, extractivism, and homogenization. And these are just some ideas I have extracted from literature over time. This essentially means that we need to reject extravagant research that treats communities merely as data sources for academic gain, and we must ensure that we engage in community centered and reciprocal communication and collaboration. It also means avoiding tokenism by involving youth, especially from marginalized or diverse backgrounds, from the very start of the policy and research process, rather than bringing them towards the end to conduct some sort of survey. Finally, it requires resisting homogenization by recognizing that the researcher itself or anyone who's working on these uh, projects is in a duty, has a duty of care, and is in a position that they have major influence, and they must recognize the diversity and fluidity within those communities by avoiding any sort of bias that they might have. which in turn involves avoiding broad generalization or valuing their agency and valuing the community's agency and involving identities. And together, these principles, I think, really foster inclusive and genuine like participatory approaches. Yeah, on that front, yeah, am I?
Thank you, Amisha, for your sharing on this one. And of course, I know that we have a lot to continue, and that's like a really good way for and really like informative background that you help share with a lot of solution. And we hope that to continue with that in an open floor. Now we have to pass it over to Diksha for sharing her insights. And before that, I would kindly ask our YGF team to pull up Slido Q&A, as our attendees will probably have questions already. If you don't have, feel free to go through that and then upvote the ones that you want to get answered from our speaker later on. Amisha and Diksha will certainly keep an eye on it, as well as myself. And that will really help us to shape our conversation later on as we open up the floor. So without further ado, I would like to pass it over to Diksha for her sharing. Diksha, are you ready?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jenna, for the floor. And Amisha, that was a really incredible, some of the youth initiative that I also had a chance to look into. And I just, before getting into the question, I just wanted to reflect on my 2017 journey to Internet Governance Forum. And I can see Bhredipta here from Indonesia, who was my colleague back then. And I remember back in 2017 when all of us very enthusiastically participated in this forum. There weren't many youth initiative back in Asia Pacific. We would hear more about the Western initiative, and those of us who wanted to be involved in any discussion related to internet safety had to be a part of one of the organization based in Global North. But now I'm really happy that there are more opportunities for us to be engaged if we are interested enough. And just a quick Google search can give us so many youth initiatives now. And it makes me so happy that there are now local hubs besides the Youth IGF itself, right? So I feel like massive credit to Youth IGF movements in all the countries that have been able to democratize AI and also the discussion on the internet safety, because that way people speaking not just English, but also native languages, non-English speaking audiences can also come on board and can ask questions in an online platform like we are doing right now. And that's a massive and most progressive youth-led initiative I could give credit to. Like Amisha shared earlier about the NetMission.Asia Pacific Policy Observatory, I was very happy to become a part of it as a contributor. And some of us in the Policy Observatory were also young people who had heard about the buzzword artificial intelligence, but weren't necessarily an expert, right? But the space gave opportunity to researchers and people who were interested to investigate further on the AI development of their own jurisdiction, such as I belong from Nepal. I wanted to investigate more on whether Nepal is prepared enough for AI adoption. So I had a chance to get enrolled in it. So I feel like since a lot of young people are engaging right now, if you're interested to do research on AI or any other internet safety issues, that Asia Pacific Policy Observatory has a different theme every year. So keep a lookout, because I think I, along with my other young people, other youth colleagues, were able to not just investigate, but also critique on the digital policies of jurisdiction from our own home country, but also our neighboring country like India, Philippines, Pakistan, etc. So that is a really good initiative. Besides that, something that really helped us. I know that today this session is being attended by not just people from technical background, not just legal background, but some of us might be from social background as well. So when thinking about the AI, when we talk about AI biases, it's kind of difficult to comprehend what exactly is AI bias and how does it work. And so for us, what really helped us to understand was to look at AI from a life cycle approach. That AI, like any other tool, starts from development, training, then comes deployment, then comes scaling and improvement, right? So we have to start discussion or the intervention. If we really wanted to advocate for algorithmic fairness, then we have to start right from the development stage, right? From development stage to training stage, because that's when the model starts collecting public data. And if these data are not met with enough data cleansing process, then what ends up becoming, when we ask large language models such as ChatGPT about the role of professional people, then the men ends up shown up. But when we talk about more domestic work, then it associates those work with women, right? So in order for this bias result not to come at the end of these technologies, we have to intervene right from the training stage. And that's why I was really happy to see some of the research being conducted in Nepal by this organization called NAMI, which recently published this research-based article on AI ethics in Nepal. So it identifies the gaps in which there is gap in AI preparedness or adoption of AI ethics in the country by engaging key stakeholders like student, professional, policymakers. So if you want to have a more look at it from a country that does not have a lot of literature out there in terms of AI, then this is a literature that helps. So NAMI is an organization that is youth-led, also produces researches that are more youth-focused. So do check it out. Also, something that makes me happy is that the international organization like UNESCO, through its youth camp, was also able to do AI for All campaign that awares young people about how different groups can be affected by AI biases. So these are some of the programs that happens annually. So any of you if you want to be a part of it, do look at the deadlines for these camps. So you can also maybe participate in it if you are interested. Some of the things that can be adopted more widely is, I agree with Amisha that these models, whether it's ChatGPT, very well known to us, but also other AI models that we adopt in our countries, Asia Pacific, are made in or created in global north. So when we adopt finally back in our country, they are not embedded with the cultural sensitiveness that we have back in the region, right? So more initiatives or youth initiative should focus our research or advocacy towards embedding safeguarding frameworks towards the technology that we adopt here, so that they also are culturally sensitive. They abide by the jurisdictional regulations that we have back in the country. So yeah, I think that is how I would like to address the first question. Should I go to the second and third real quickly, or should we take a pause?
If you would like to take maybe 1 minute to kind of summarize it very quickly, that would be awesome. And we can continue the conversation in the open floor as well.
Okay. So I mean, maybe because I have the last 1 minute, so maybe I can address the last question first, which is, what are the proven methods that exist, including to include youth from rural, marginalized, or linguistically diverse communities, right? So once, when in 2018, 2019, I used to resonate with this background where I wasn't speaking English properly, and I did not really resonate with the people that came from maybe Australia that had awesome fluent English, and I didn't feel like I belonged. But the challenge is more complex than we think when we are talking about including rural people in the discussion of AI policy, which looks so sophisticated and out of reach. To be very real, if we see the statistics, more than 40% of the people belonging to Asia Pacific region are still offline. In countries like Pakistan, more than 49% of women are less likely to be on the mobile internet, right? So in these kind of scenario where AI models are itself so expensive and West centric, also has embedded biased algorithms, how can we find our own voices in discussions such as these? It's definitely a complex issue, but there are a lot of initiatives, for example, in India, like AI Samarth, that have been able to reach out to the government schools as well as affordable private schools to teach students about how to harness AI in our daily lives safely and in an ethical manner, right? So I feel like rather than first we need to focus on how can we as youth-led organization may be able to implement more outreach programs than expecting the people in rural community or people who do not really speak the English language come on board. I think there is more outreach programs that is needed from our part as well as civil societies, private organization. And to address such a complex issue, we first need to also destigmatize the conversation in AI, because one of the research that I discussed earlier from NAMI said that the students or the young generation think that the topic of AI is something that only the technical community should discuss and not people who might have studied humanities or belong to social science background. So we need to de-stereotype the conversation and welcome more people and say that AI belongs to all of us, and humanize AI more, conversation around it more, so that more people feel comfortable to also voice their opinion on AI biases or whether it is accountability and transparency to demand from the AI models in private sector. Yeah.
Thank you, Diksha. Well, we have really rich conversations already, and I do encourage Amisha and Diksha to share any relevant links in the chat so that our attendees can access, as well as our note taker who can include that in our report, because Youth Leaders Dialogue right here aims to compile any youth-led solution as much as possible. And Diksha and Amisha help summarize some of the key points that we, collectively identify as something really important for APAC youth community as well. Recently, we submitted a joint letter with almost 70 youth leaders from our region endorsed it. And submitted to the WSIS Plus 20 processes. Some of you might know about this more, but if not, encourage you to go back to your info kit to click on all those links to learn about it. But long story short, that's like some processes going on institutionally that might influence how you've been engaged and structurally involved in all the spaces. And I think that touched on some of the questions you guys asked already about, how to make sure internet governance spaces maintain a health balance that include our voice. And as our speaker also mentioned, how APAC youth being involved in all these conversations with cultural, linguistic, and gender diversities. I will spare you all the details that we said in all the joint letter, and hopefully YIGF and OC team can help drop the link to that joint letter in the chat as well for people's reference as we go through the Q&A, as well as open up the open floor, because prior to the sessions, we received some requests from different YIGF coordinator that some of their members from their local community would like to chime in and give the 2 cents, add the 2 cents to the conversation to start with. We will also keep the Q&A tools open. So don't forget to put your question and keep upvote which one you would like to discuss. Now, this is perfect timing for us to start channeling our frustrations or concern into some ideas on having practical step on how we encourage more collaborations. What are some community-based solutions that can help us create something that's culturally tailored for things that works for our youth and next generation in our regions? What forms of mentorship or support that could encourage intergenerational collaborations for better digital governance. Now, without further ado, I would like to pass it over to Prince Gupta to start with. And on my list, I have a few more. So folks from local hubs, as well as our remote speakers from all those YIGFs, please press the raise hand button and we'll start keeping a queue. Now, over to you, Prince Gupta.
So hello everyone. So I would like to take that question, like how will internet governance frameworks maintain a healthy balance between online safety and freedom of expression in countries like India? So I think it's definitely possible for India to maintain a balance between online safety and freedom of expression. And we have already seen progress, like in 2015, when the Supreme Court struck down Section 66A, and it's stated that like it was violating the free speech right. And more recently, like 2023, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act was passed, which was passed to protect users' data and privacy. So this step are showing that India is moving in the right direction. But is it actually working? So from my point of view, but to make it really work, the focus should be on fair implementation, transparency, and collaboration between the government, tech companies, and citizenship. Like everyone should have a part on that. Even the citizens, they should like raise their voice. Like they should be open to contribute to the society and all. So instead of heavy censorship, we should invest in digital literacy, awareness, and accountability. So that way, people can stay safe online while still having the freedom to express their opinions responsibly. So thank you. That was my point.
Awesome, thank you. Now, to save time, I will not chime in every time. And once the first person is done, please move on to the next one. You can see the queue and we can do it. Okay? Awesome. Please go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Jenna. So just continue the discussion ahead. So at least from Indonesia perspective, the Indonesia Youth IGF takes place as a hub. So our activities is we encourage the existing initiative. We encourage what the youth initiative have already had done, especially on digital literacies, on engagement with grassroots communities, including the indigenous people on various level of issues. So rather than polling the community to join the discussion, we try to empower the existing initiatives done by local CSOs, done by advocacy organizations to understand what the local context actually is. This, in the spirit of avoiding to look like a data colonization, we try to engage, we try to support the local community, like our brother and sister in the ICT Watch, SafeNet, and other advocacy initiative. When they do grassroots initiative, we always encourage them to talk and collect qualitative data that supports the policy discussions that we do with the government representative, the industry stakeholders. That's the first one. The second one, we also try to remind all youth across different stakeholders that we are in the same boat. So no matter what stakeholders you are in, you are actually youth. So it should serve as a platform. It should serve as a label where we should gather our power together, regardless of your positions, regardless of their situation. Because the dichotomy or separation of, oh, you are part of government, you are part of industry, you are a part of CSO will not work. At least in the Indonesia side, we need to consolidate the forces that we have through having youth power to change the paradigm that internet only belongs to the government, internet only belongs to the industry, internet belongs to everyone, including the AI use as well. That's where the dynamic should be driven to. And the last one, when we talk about the practical step on how to develop the intergenerations, that's where the youth narratives work well, because youth is the working forces. We have the older generation, we nurture the younger generation, at least in Indonesia, we did our School of Internet Governance recently, and we nurtured this and we guide them, including on the use of AI and AI literacy as well. So that's pretty much what we did, and happy to continue the conversation later.
Sonit, please go ahead.
Oh yeah, thank you, Jenna. So for Cambodia perspective on this dialogue conversation, I just want to add that of course I've seen a lot of a lot of discussion going on, pointing out that language barriers or like Western-centric AI data set is like fully embedded with just Western perspective, which is biased. And it is really a problem here in Cambodia as well, because there is not a lot of like translation and even like the training and development that would include like Cambodian's language. We do have some initiative already, but it's not really fully immersed. And which is why to make AI system more transparent and accountable, we can start by the disclosure of AI labels in our local languages. So maybe users can easily understand why they're seeing this, why is it appearing to them in the local language. And in parallel to a joint step for AI transparency and accountability is to have like an independent audits, maybe like do it annually with third-party reviews of the AI high-risk systems, and maybe publish like summary reports for transparency, and also conduct or establish like algorithmic impact assessment for all developers in the region to check if there's like any bias in the local data sets, accessibility issues, and privacy risks before like deployment. The next step is for Cambodia, because in the urban area, there are a lot of people who are already well informed about digital literacy, and it's still a problem that marginalized group like in the rural areas, they still don't have accessibility and stuff. So my recommendation is to push for more advocacy, like a roadshow campaigns or peer-to-peer model training or workshop that would help run across like community halls or schools or baby pagodas like in Cambodia, to help train people on their privacy checks, online safety tips, and even distribute, like I saw that we have like a safety kits now, but it would be great if like we have an initiative to translate it in our local languages so we can print and also distribute it to our youth to be more accessible to answer the community-based and culturally tailored digital well-being and safety. So I think that would be all from me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bula from Fiji, and I'll be presenting the Pacific IGF. So basically, what we can talk about AI transparency and accountability, it will be, I think it's one of the most important step where governments and industries, they should involve the youths to come in and help prepare these, policies around AI. As for Fiji, I would want to say, Fiji is already in works in preparing a national AI policy. I think this was also discussed in the UN by our Prime Minister. So, that some work is starting. Again, keeping this AI transparent and accountable. Also, the initiatives have started where we want to include this, through digital literacy, AI to be part of it, and start it to be teaching from schools, like primary, high schools going in. So that's one of the things that Fiji and the Pacific is trying to do. For digital well-being and online safety, so the Pacific is more of a community-based and a cultural root aspect, and in Fiji and Pacific, we have a digital behavior that is very closely tied to family, faith, and community values. So we want to have a more of a awareness programs and that we can run through our open story-based dialogue, what we call a Talanoa session in Fiji. So have that generic online campaigns. This will help them to create trust and also allow the young people to speak freely. And also especially adults, okay, I mean, it'll help them to understand the risk around the online so the scams and cyberbullying. Mentorship and integration support, I would strongly recommend. I think what we at the university is trying to do is have some industry and academic partnership where we can create mentorship in ICT industries for youths, which they can use it as the career path and learn more on this. And finally, I would want to say is on a regionally initiative, we would want to have a something to work as the Pacific Youth Digital Network that could help connect the youth-led digital projects across Asia Pacific. There's a very good work that is happening in Pacific Island nations, but most of them are just working in silos. If we can get them together and maybe to give them a platform to explore and get them noticed in the region. So I think that would really help. That's all from me. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. I would like to address the question that what forms of mentorship or intergenerational support would best prepare young people for an AI-driven future. So I think first things first, what we need to understand is that when we say that youth-led initiative, we don't mean that youth alone by it, because we are talking about something that connects all of us here, how we as youth can shape a very safe and inclusive and very transparent digital world together, along with the generations that before us. So, how should we see this is that we as young people, we can bring innovation, we can bring curiosity and bold ideas, and but the older generation, they bring their experience and their networks and their institutional power with them. So I think we should think about it like this, that if youth are drivers of this digital change, then the older generation, they can be the one who can guide us through this route. So for that, there should be the mentorship programs where experienced professionals, they can guide young innovators, and this can make a huge difference, because imagine like if every policymaker, they have a young co-advisor with them, someone who can explain what digital safety feels like in real life, and in return the young people, they could learn how governance and ethics and policy making actually works. So that's the kind of intergenerational collaboration that we need, because we want to learn with each other, not about each other. So, and I think there's one thing more, that whatever we discuss here, this should not stop, and whatever the initiatives that we are taking, this should not stop at one country's border. So if there is a regional initiative here in Pakistan or somewhere else, then it should scale to Indonesia or Fiji or Japan maybe. So that's how the regional cooperation would work. And yeah, that's pretty much it from my side.
Thank you, Hina. And then now it's turn for our friends from Philippine Local Hub. Over to you, Dean.
All right. Can it be heard online? Can it be heard from online?
The audio is a little bit faint.
Okay. And is audio better now?
Slightly. I don't know if it's better for other folks. Maybe we just need to be really paying a lot of attention.
How about this one?
It's fine. We'll pay attention, extra focus.
Okay. So yeah. All right. So from what I have learned from the discussion from speakers a while ago, all right. So for us to be more more well diverse and so inclusive AI algorithms, and I think since the students can learn itself, they can learn actually on how to train AI. I think it's best if you could let them to be co-designers as well in creating AI projects specifically for government projects. From what I have researched, there's what we call the OSP project. They are encouraging students, okay, who AI students who can design AI to be part of the project, such as good that AI project. That's one of the examples in OAST, that's the Department of Science and Technology, that it helps and it promotes AI, ICT, inclusion in agriculture. So all we're saying is we have to ask from our students to be part of the government projects, particularly in AI, because we can actually help. We can be served as the watchdogs for what's happening in the AI, in the creation of algorithms. All right, it's a youth-led project. And if we are letting students become, become co-designers of AI, and I think we can see the transparency and accountability. So they are not just learning from the experience, but also they are helping as well the community and even the company. So all I'm saying is we really have to encourage the students, particularly the youth, to become the designers of AI algorithm projects, such as what the OS is promoting. I think that's it from my end. Thank you.
Awesome. And lastly, I saw a hand up from Islamabad earlier. If you guys are ready, please unmute yourself. But for the time being, I will pass it over to Ihita for, to chime in. Please go ahead.
All right. Hi, am I audible, Jenna? I am. Okay,
yes,
perfect.
you are.
Thanks, Jenna. Hi, everyone. It's afternoon in India, so good afternoon from me. I am Ihita. I am the coordinator of Youth IGF India. So a lot of that I'll be sharing, and I think we've had some really good points earlier from the two speakers as well, and as well as your interventions. Most of it is covered, but I'll speak from a little bit more from an Indian context. So first of all, why does this discussion matter? Is because when we talk about AI, young people are both the builders and the targets in the AI ecosystem. As my day job professionally, I work in an AI-powered cybersecurity company. So we see a lot of how threat actors are leveraging AI to provide scam as a service. And they're also scaling a lot of cyber threats. In addition to that, of course, on the flip side, AI can help you prevent or predict cyber threats much before, much better than the way we used to do in a more traditional standing, right? But when we talk about AI from a transparency and accountability standpoint, and one of the questions did mention how governments, industries, and young people can work together. There is, of course, a lot of work that has to be done within the stakeholder groups in a silo, but the impact and the actual execution happens when there's coordination and cooperation across stakeholders. So for government, for example, there is a lot of work being done in India also with frameworks, with policies coming out around AI systems and AI governance. But what I see is when we talk about an AI solution, the solution is currently catering to, let's say, individuals or entities or organizations or even communities who are privileged to some extent, right? So it's important for the government to bring in incentives and also public funding wherever possible to incentivize social impact AI solutions that will actually uplift those part of communities that we may be missing out on. Then second, and I think it is also important that as young entrepreneurs, we get the support that we require, right? For industry, I see that a lot of standardization efforts, and there are multiple working groups across internet governance, technical bodies that are already in place. But I believe there is also ISO 42001 that I've had a chance to work on, which focuses on AI management systems, right? And the transparency, fairness, the ethics aspect of it also. So more and more such standards and young people also participating in these standardization processes will definitely influence the way that we take it forward. The other point I wanted to mention is when we talk about a technology like Internet of Things, or let me just talk about cybersecurity. Wouldn't it be cool to have, let's say, a tech product which has a label that mentions exactly this is the level of encryption that you can find here, this is the level of data that this is going to take from you, and all of these things that are on a quick glance that helps you understand what that tech product is all about. Similarly, I think for AI systems, if we can have some kind of a labeling mechanism or something in a very concise way for a common person, makes them understand what is it that this tool is doing, how transparent is it, how are the security controls being implemented, etc. I think I'm so sorry about the background noise, but I think The other aspect that I see is from India, particularly the diversity in language, economies internally, gender, age, there's a lot of diversity that we have to work with. So I think a lot of my colleagues did mention how we should have co-curated programs, use maybe, NLP, natural language processing, to ensure that even the languages and cultures that we may be missing out on is highlighted in the trainings that we provide on how to use AI effectively. Is there a component of AI that is leading to harm on the digital well-being? So all of these things can be monitored better, leveraging AI for the betterment of AI and its impact on us as a community. This is just a thought I wanted to leave the conversation on. Thanks, Jenna.
Thank you.
Yes. Jenna,
Yeah,
I just
please
must
go
add,
ahead.
yeah, 1 minute. So I think the discussion is really great, but since we talk about governance, we talk about internet governance. From my professional experience, when we talk about governance, you need to get into the system, understand the system to make a systemic changes. So at least from our my personal experience and community experience in Indonesia, the best way to do it is to have evidence to support the proposed changes you want and learn the changes and learn how the system, what kind of system that you need to infiltrate to do the changes and make a substantive pressures so the changes you propose can happen. So everything about the applications, the data, about the software, it's good, it's great. But in order to make the governance change, you need to understand the system, whether it is the legislative system, policy making system, governance system, the rule making system. And in order to do that, you need to have evidence, you need to have support, you have to know who are part of the system and how to get into the system to make the system from inside and outside. So I'm just leaving it there to make sure that we can together change to better governance.
Thanks, Bhredipta, for bringing this up. This is indeed very important, and then something we want to tie back to with the Asia Pacific Youth Leaders Dialogue right here every year, because we believe internet governance is the space for us to try to make the change and help governance it. We have a lot of questions. I will take the next 6 minutes because we still have 6 minutes for this open floor. Before I address and continue what Bhredipta just brought up, I would like to ask our speaker to take a look at questions, because later on we'll probably circle back and see if they have anything to want to add back. But now, as I will continue the next 6 minutes, I want to give you guys a really quick update on how to get involved, because we have many first-timer right here and it's hard to understand. And to start with, we probably can give an update about what we engaged at the WSIS Plus 20 process recently. I also just dropped a joint letter in the chat because, almost 70 youth leaders from our region set up some of the things that we think it's important and should be some non-negotiable priorities for us, as WSIS Plus 20 is a monumental moment that will make some decisions that influence us as the next generation for decades to go. We, relatively speaking, will live longer than people who are already in the space. So some of the ideas that came up in this processes on how we structurally, systemically include youth to build a sturdier table, like Bea always said, is that the youth leaders propose to set up youth council in all this in all these internet governance spaces, so that we can structuralize and legitimize voices from youth community, as well as recognizing youth as a stakeholder group. I know that earlier we have different opinion on how we should treat stakeholder group, while leaders in our regions also think that there's a need for recognizing youth as a stakeholder group, because there's specifically need that is regarding digital natives, and there are certain needs, and for young people to engage in all these processes. We knew that capacity building is important. And as you guys share a lot of solutions that you guys do locally, nationally, or regionally, we also need opportunity to advocate, so we get our voice channel, as well as other opportunity to growth, because we need the skill set in order to match it to other stakeholder group, and so that we can make decision together. Now, I know we have a lot of things that we're doing in our own communities. I want to remind you guys that we have this 3-year blueprint that we set up 10 goals, I believe, I remember correctly, for us to, strengthen collaborations in our regions. And I think earlier you guys mentioned that this year we have more participation from local hubs. This is indeed one of the solutions and strategies that we came up in this APAC Youth Leaders Dialogue. And, practical solutions like that, we totally welcome. Feel free to drop it in the chat, because everyone's could definitely take the positional advantage and privilege to make some changes that help our entire APAC youth communities to achieve the goals that we want to do. A few things that we list out on this 3-year blueprint for quite some time, but we haven't really discussed or chatted about how to execute. One thing that one of the really ambitious goal is to help our region to set up more youth IGFs. How exactly, we don't know, but if you guys have some thought, feel free to share. I will give my 2 cents on how to encourage that. Since last year, I believe we set up a steering committee having YIGF coordinator from our regions to get into the steering committee and meet up more regularly. Perhaps that group can be structured even more at the youth level, and then help encourage more collaboration, and so we can achieve the ambitious goal of helping our region setting up more IGF. Now, feel free to refer to our joint letter as well as the 3-year blueprint to see if you have any proposed solutions, and keep populating it into our chat. Now, we have 2 minutes, and I wonder if anyone already have some innovative, creative idea that you wanted to share. Of course, before I circle back to our speaker to see if there's anything they would like to add to tie the whole conversation back to our specific theme that we set for this conversation right here. I assume we don't. So now I would like to ask if Amisha or Diksha would like to add anything.
Yeah, may I speak something?
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So I was looking at the questions that are displayed on my screen, and I really I'm intrigued by this particular question that asks that with the presence of big tech giants like OpenAI and their generative AI systems like ChatGPT, how can local systems compete and establish themselves as good alternatives? One thing that came to my mind to answer this question is that it should, this is exactly the question by the local hub Islamabad. So one thing that came into my mind is that we do not really have to replace these AI systems. We have to complement them. And which is why there are a lot of initiatives that are coming up that talk about localized data sets that are available as an open source resource that localized communities or developers can have access to build their own systems. And when you talk about an AI system, you are not talking about that being the only AI system that is functioning in that economy. When you are building a integrated AI system for a particular community that is culturally sensitive, it is essentially spread across centers and integrated across centers, which is why the conversation is not about replacing the big tech giants. It is about steering conversation in order for them to include representation from the APAC region, or say the global south. So yeah, these are just my 2 cents that came to my mind.
Awesome. Thanks, Amisha. Just checking if Diksha would like to add anything. Totally not forced to say, to add further comments if you don't.
I agree with everything Amisha said, +1 to that. And thank you for having me here today.
That's awesome. It is indeed a really rich conversations as usual, and our note taker will love it and hate it. But this is really helpful for us to compile a summary and help channel some and making some call to actions for our next conversations and for the rest of the youth leaders in our regions. And again, hopefully that will give youth leaders a reference, and then you can take some insights and then do something locally. And of course, us at NetMission and Asia Pacific YIGF will try to leverage our own position and try to make some collaboration too. And Bhredipta has something to add, and feel free to jump in as we have 3
thanks,
more minutes.
Jenna. Yes, this is very great initiatives, and I just want to emphasize, and I hope this is not counterproductive with what we are doing, but whenever the phrase of youth leaders is being spoken out, I hope it's not discouraging and frightening for those who are being joining this for the first time, and I'm not good enough as youth leader, because every youth is a leader by themselves, and youth leadership, at least from Indonesia Youth IGF, we put ourselves as some initiative that empowers rather than at the top of the figures and try to orchestrate, not leading in the sense of commanding, but growing from the bottom to top. Just want to chime in on that point, and not trying to be counterproductive.
No worries. I mean, at YGF, we try our best to innovate different format and try to make conversation. Sometimes we have really loose format, as you can see, and try to keep the conversation more open. Because if it's a space for youth, we want to do it our way. And of course, we also need to learn how other spaces work, and then so we can channel our opinion and perspective, right? So, I mean, later on, we have a dedicated sessions to share more opportunities and how NetMission or YGF is trying to provide different opportunities to help build our capacity, as well as giving us different opportunity to advocate for our perspective, to make different policy, as well as what opportunity to growth. And later on, you guys will be bombarded by me for sure on how to carry on this conversation annually, how to strengthen steering committees, as well as other initiative to kind of like collaborate more to implement many of the great ideas that we have today. Now, 1 minute left. I wonder if note taker would like to summarize anything before we go into a break and taking a group photo.
Sure, Jenna, I'd love to do that. And starting from the points we discussed in the discussion so far, first of all, I'd like to talk about youth inclusion. Some of the folks discuss about how internet governance isn't just about having governments or industries involved in it. It's about including everyone. And youths need to be actively involved as builders and impactors in this. Apart from that, in intergenerational collaboration, we need to bring youth as an innovators and curiosity builders, and also elders, by sharing their experience. And through involving both of them, we can have mentorship programs that not only not only help them to learn about each other, but also from each other. And apart from that, we should have some of the AI systems that are not biased and often not localized. They should have been like implemented in local languages, especially that are much needed in the rural areas. And we also need to have clear labels for AI products, standardized practices, and understanding the systems before proposing the changes. And lastly, opportunities like you mentioned, WISES and YIGFs help youth engage and advocate and participate meaningfully in these kind of digital policy discussion. So yeah, that's all.
Thanks, Noel, for the summary. We are now heading into a break, but before that, I would like to take a photo. And thanks again for the conversation. While you guys start turning on your camera and having Ankita to help us to take a screenshot, having a group photos, I would like to thank you all for participating in this conversation very actively. This is super helpful for the YGF organizing team to think about how we match all the suggestions and recommendation into like the 3-year blueprint, as well as some of the joint letter and other other statement that we created to help improve the program itself, as well as enhancing the strategies we have for youth engagement in our regions. Now, please don't forget everything we just discussed, because after the break, we later on will have a sessions to compile a youth statement together, and that will kind of like help set the agenda for how we want to do youth engagement in IG internet governance. Apology on my end for using acronyms already later on. So are we ready for photo, Ankita?
Yes, Jenna, we are ready. So just everyone
Awesome.
fine. I'll just take a screenshot from my side. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Okay, guys, stop sending emojis for 1 second. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Okay, 1 second.